Okay, these questions are from Tuesday's assignment, but I've been getting a lot of questions over some of them. The reason these might be a little bit more challenging is because they're kind of, especially this one, these ones down below, are kind of set up in a different order than typically what we're used to. The entire equation is kind of mixed around, so that might make things a little bit confusing for you. However, if you have been following those steps that I've been using, drawing this line, using the proper algebraic steps that I've been going over in these videos, then hopefully this won't be as tricky as it could be. That's why I've been going over this and saying it's really, really important that you follow along with these steps, because it does get more complex, okay? And it even gets more complex from here if you take a look at Thursday and Friday's assignments coming up. So, remember, what we're trying to do is solve for the variable. In this case, the variable is y for question A. However, I want you to notice that there's a minus sign in front of that. Okay, that's going to be really important as we continue to work this question. All right, we're trying to get y by itself, but right now there's this 16 in front of y. There is no sign in front of 16, right? But because there is no sign, we can assume that that's a positive 16. So it's really like we have this 16 added on to this negative y. If I want to get y, or that minus y, all by itself, what I would do is take the opposite of plus 16, which is minus 16. Remember, whatever I do to the left-hand side, I also do to the right-hand side. Okay, so these 16s go away. Notice what I'm going to bring down on the left-hand side, though. I have a minus y. It's minus. It's still negative. It's not just a regular plus y. You need to bring down that minus that was in front of the y, because the y does not change value if we just bring it down. And then on the the right-hand side, 5 take away 16 is negative 11. So right now I have negative y equal to negative 11, but that's not what I need for my answer. Y is not completely by itself just yet, because we have that minus out in front. So what I need to do is remove that minus. And it's almost just like we have a negative 1 being multiplied out in front of y, correct? So it's like minus 1 times y equals negative 11. You could even write that out if you want. Minus 1 times y equals negative 11. This has the same value as this, okay? And from there, if I wanted to get y alone, since I'm multiplying this y times negative 1, I could divide both sides of my equation by negative 1. Okay, and so from there, these negative 1s will cancel out. We're left with just the y, and then we set that equal to minus 11 divided by negative 1, which is a positive 11. Okay, if you notice, when we go from here, this step, minus y equals minus 11, we can kind of just think of the signs both changing from negatives to positives. We just went from negative y equals negative 11. That means that positive y has to equal positive 11, okay? Those are things that you'll get more comfortable with the more that you practice solving equations. But for right now, I think it's really important that you understand this step of dividing by that negative 1. Okay, so that was question A. Let's move to question C. Again, we're solving for this variable, but I'm just going to kind of put a box around the term that contains the variable. So this x is contained within minus 3x. So remember, when I'm thinking about that onion that I've been discussing, that will be the last thing that we touch. So you can also think of this 10 out in front as being a positive 10. So the very first thing I need to do is get rid of that positive 10. What I will do is subtract 10 from both sides of the equation and then see what I'm left with. So these 10s on the left side have canceled out, bring down minus 3x. Notice I bring down that minus sign just like I did in the previous question. Bring it down, okay, so it's minus 3x, that has not changed, equals 1 take away 10 is minus 9. Okay, this one is a little bit more straightforward. We've seen this before. To get x alone, I'll just divide both sides by negative 3. Just be careful with the signs here. Minus 3, divide minus 3. Goes away, I'm just left with x. And then I have minus 9 divided by minus 3, which is a positive 3. A common mistake that I see a lot of people forget to divide by a negative 3. They'll just divide by 3 and then just kind of forget about the negative. But really be careful and make sure you remember that there is a minus sign there. Let's double check our answer. We have 10, take away 3 times 3, which is 9. So 10 take away 9 is 1. That's correct. All right. Let's move on to questions D, and then I'll do question I as well, and then you can finish up the rest of that worksheet on your own if you have not already. This one's kind of similar to the one we just did, okay? So if you want to freeze the video and try it on your own using the steps that we just used, that would be a good idea. I'm going to move a little bit more quickly. First thing we'll do is subtract 38 from both sides. I bring everything down. This goes away. Bring down minus 4m. Don't forget the minus. And then I'm set equal to negative 24. Wow, cool. Okay, so set equal to negative 24 on the right-hand side. Last thing I need to do is get m alone. Remember to divide by a negative 4. Okay, divide by negative 4. So this is a minus 24 divided by negative 4. These will cancel out. M equals negative 24 divided by negative 4 is positive 6. Yeah? Okay, and then last question, question I. Again, this question, it is all switched around compared to what we've been used to working with, right? If you wanted to, I'll come to the side over here. I'm not going to work it this way, but I'm just going to switch the order of these two, 58, take away 8g on the left-hand side, and put the 44 on the right-hand side, just because that's what you're used to seeing. If you wanted to, you could switch it around and then follow the exact same steps as we used in question D, but I'm going to kind of challenge you a bit here and just leave it, because eventually I think you will be comfortable enough to solve equations without switching the order, and I think it would be really good for you if you tried to challenge yourself with that as well. So what we're solving for is this g, and it's contained within that term minus 8g. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove anything else that's on that same side of the equation. So our g is going to stay on the right-hand side most of the time, all right? I take away 58 to get that g term alone. Then I have 44, take away 58 is minus 14. Hopefully that's correct. Yes, believe so. And then this cancels out, and then I'm left equal to just minus 8g. Okay. From here, again, I'm just trying to get g alone. So what I need to do is divide by the minus 8 that is being multiplied out in front of g. Everything here is the same. It's the same as what we've been doing this whole entire time. It's just switched around on different side of the equal symbol. So I'm going to get out my calculator and divide minus 14 by minus 8. And that gives us 1.75. Okay, so from right here on the left-hand side, I have 1.75 equal to g. Okay, so we did get g all by itself. It's just in a different order than we're used to. Usually we have the variable on the left-hand side, but it's fine. If you have an equation, you can swap the left-hand side and the right-hand side around, and your answer remains the same. So if you had worked this equation out where I swapped it at the very beginning, you would end up at this result. It's really up to you, but as we move forward and as you move on to higher level maths, you will see more complicated equations where it's not going to be so easy for you to swap things around. So challenge yourself now while you're still in year 8 so that you can work up to that level of really being comfortable with solving equations.